Okay, welcome. We've got today on Deadline TV, we've got Bryan Gruley, a good friend, amazing journalist, and a novelist who's written, this is his seventh novel, and he's also written a nonfiction book called Paper Loss, which was about the Detroit newspaper joint operation agreement, which was also a great book. Um,
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Bryan.
Hey,
Uh,
Alan. Great to see you.
Are
Always.
you up in Traverse City right now, or
I'm in my home in Traverse City. Yes, where we
Traverse
live.
City? So Bryan grew up in Redford, born in New Grace Hospital, where I was born as well in Detroit.
Right.
Uh, Bryan and I worked at the Detroit News together. I started in '84, I think, which is the same year
So did
you
I.
started,
Yeah, correct.
and we worked there. And then Bryan went to the Washington Bureau of the Detroit News, and then went on to the Wall Street Journal. I went on strike. I ended up in Washington at the Washington Post, and we were reunited there in Washington.
That was excellent. Yeah.
And then Bryan went to Chicago to work for the Wall Street Journal as the bureau chief there. When I asked for a job, Bryan said, I have a policy of not hiring friends,
I did.
uh, which I tried to convince him that we weren't. But any,
I
anyways,
forgot about this.
yeah. There was the opening for
I
the
did hire
fast food.
Mike Schroeder at the Journal, who's a
It,
friend
it,
of both of us. I hired him. He was on my team at the Journal. So probably I just lied to you.
right. You lied. And so, yeah, there was an opening for a fast food writing beat, which I really thought would be great. I had a lot of
That is a
fun.
great beat. It really is. At least
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was then.
I would have loved that beat. I would have, yeah, and I would have done a great job. But
Undoubtedly.
I hired somebody else. And but anyways, we've been good friends for many since really '84,
Really.
uh,
Yes.
which is
Indeed.
a long time. And then you went on to work for Bloomberg Business Week
Right.
uh, magazine as a course. You worked out of Chicago as a correspondent, did some great work out of there, and now you are into the novel scene. You've written. We've published. If anyone wants to see it, we published the chapter one excerpt of the book, which is called River Deep. If you want to
Yeah, it
hear
is.
River Deep.
Great
Uh,
cover. I had
and,
nothing to
and
do
I've
with it.
read the first chapter, which is great. I mean, Brian's been a great writer. He's a
No,
great
thank you.
writer, and he's developed a way of using dialogue in these books, which is also really great. So, um, this is this is a sequel to another book, Bitter Frost. It's the second in a series, and just to show you what a really a true big shot Bryan is, he's got his own Wikipedia page. So
My
if
daughter, my daughter built that like
you wrote
15.
that,
See, that's better
uh,
fraud. It's
Bitter
actually
Frost,
one word, even though it looks like two.
okay. And so tell us, you're on. This is your seventh novel, which is really
Right.
amazing.
Uh,
Uh, how did you the first one? How did that come about, and how did you end up doing seven novels?
well, I always wanted when I was in college. I dreamed of I'm going to write a novel, but I had none of the skill to do it at that time, and I had no experience. What was I going to write about? Shooting pool and drinking beer? That's 5 pages, and it's boring. So I went into journalism, and over the course of well, it was 41 years. I started writing novels long before that, but I learned a lot about storytelling and writing and observation. So that you can put people in scenes so they feel like they're there, like it's almost cinematic. Um, and I, with the help of colleagues and my own work and my editors, I learned those skills. And then in the late '90s, I decided I'm going to take a crack at a novel, uh, and it was about a day trader because I'd done a big story for the Journal about day traders. It was a lot of fun, and I wrote 25,000 words, and I showed it to my agent, and she said, "Well, not this." She knew I played hockey, and she said, "Why don't you write me a story about these middle-aged guys who play hockey in the middle of the night?" And I immediately had an idea, which I won't say because it would spoil the book, but it's something bad. And I told my agent this, and she said, "Oh yeah, that's always a winner. That's how agents think." So it took me a few years to write that book, and then I spent a year getting rejections, 26 in all.
And when you say it took 3 years, you were still working.
Oh yeah, I was working. Yeah, I was working at the Journal.
And you were getting up, what was it, every morning at 5 a.m.?
Yeah, well, not that early. Usually, depended. 6, sometimes 5:30, sometimes later. We try to get an hour and a half, 2 hours if I'm lucky, and write it. But that book took the longest of any because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I finished it. We started submitting it. A year went by. I had 26 rejections. I figured I just going to have to write another book. And then I got a 3-book deal. And the first of those was Starvation Lake, which is a different fictional Michigan town. It looks like Bel Air, for people who were familiar with Bel Air, which is where I had my very first job at the Antrim County News, a summer internship.
Wow. News.
Yeah. And so I did those 3 books, and then I did a couple based in another fictional town, Bleak Harbor, in the southwestern Michigan. And then I've migrated north again for Bitter Frost, which came out last year. Bitter Frost, for Michigan people, it looks kind of like Manistee. Manistee sits over on the west side of the state, about midway up, and there's a river that runs through the town from the big lake, Michigan. And that's what Bitter Frost looks like. But it would sit at about 3 hours north of Manistee, up near like Cross Village or Goodhart. And so I just kept writing, make shit up. And I admit it in fiction.
Yeah, and is it? I mean, obviously, how painstakingly we report stories, and factually checking and checking and checking. Is it kind of a fun thing not to have to really? Although you do some research to try to make it.
I do plenty of research because I write about things I don't know anything about, and I can't do the meticulous fact checking I did with my, the longest story I ever wrote was probably 4,000 words. And, just fact checking that took a lot of time and patience, but I did it. But, now we're talking 90,000 words. So I made a couple mistakes in Bitter Frost. They were corrected in the paperback. And there are 2 stupid factual errors in River Deep. One of them, my wife pointed out.
And when you talk about factual errors, people might say, how can you have factual errors in a fiction book?
Well, here, I'll show you this one. Give me a second. Sure. Pam was reading in bed, and she leaned over to me, and she said, okay, this is chapter 38. See up here, it says 6 years ago. So the book's set in 26 or 5. So 6 years ago is not 2019.
Right.
And then down here it says, after killing Biddle, the car, a leased 2023 BMW 14 or M4. So, it's
just inconsistencies.
It's time travel.
Right.
So when you talk about me this, and I'm like, dumb shit. That's okay. I probably went and looked up the cars, and I thought that was a cool car, so I just put it in. I just didn't think, and that'll be fixed in the paperback version, which will be out.
Do you ever get readers who say, "Hey, you dumb shit"?
I do, but very rarely. Like the error, there was one error in Bitter Frost. I committed it in 2 places, but they were like 200 pages apart. I caught the first one, and I thought, awesome, I caught it. And then I get, like 6 months later, I get a text from one of my friends that says, hey, Gruels, you got this guy, he gets in a Dodge Ram pickup, and then he drives a Ford Bronco out of the parking lot. God damn it. I did it twice. I fixed it.
Yeah.
I fixed it. And, there are things, particularly legal things, people will say, "Well, that's over the top," or that could never happen. Usually, they happen in the real world, but they're outrageous, so people object. And to which I say, "Okay, but there's no such thing as lightsabers either, so it's fiction."
Right. And so let me ask you before I'm going to have you read a little bit of your book, your newest book. When you get these contracts, I think some people might wonder financially, is there a is there a payoff in all these novels? And some people assume you're making a shitload of money, and some people assume you're not making a lot of money. And so how does that work? I mean, you got a 3-book
few novelists, but okay, I'll explain. So you get an advance. So the folks at Severn House who bought Bitter Frost, they bought it, and they give you an advance, and you get half of it on signing, and then half of it when you're done. And then you don't earn royalties until you've paid back the advance. For a salesman, it would be like a draw against the commission. The percentage, well, I'll put it this way. There's a marketing study on books that came out earlier this year or late last year that said only 6% of authors sell more than 1,000 books. Most authors, and many authors don't sell even in 3 figures. Now, this includes self-published authors. So I'm in the 6%, but the truth is there's this thin group of authors, Stephen King, Michael Connelly, Freddie McFadden, who sell millions of books. And if they're making $250 a book, which is about right for a hardcover, they're making a lot of money. Plus they have their backlists. A guy like Connelly's written, 30 novels, so he sold over 100 million. And then he's got the TV shows and stuff. He's a terrific guy, by the way, which is nice to see. And so I'm lucky. I'm retired. I got Social Security. It's not like I need this for my livelihood, but I have friends who write novels, and that is supposed to pay their bills. And man, I think that's hard.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It seems like the book business is sort of like a venture capitalist who has $10 million, takes 10 businesses, invests $1 million in each one, and 8 of them go out of business, and maybe 2 or 1.
That's not a bad analogy. I never thought of it that way. But yes, publishers will make a lot of bets and hope they get a Time to Kill, or the first Grisham hit. What was it? Something with Mitch.
And
the firm. And then they have all these other books that don't sell shit. So
I see I posted all your touring areas where you're going to be going, and some of them are up north in northern Michigan. Does it ring a bell do some people really relate to it more in northern Michigan, where they say, wow, I really feel you really captured northern Michigan well, and the mindset and the scenery and stuff like that? What kind of reaction do you get up there?
99% of it is very positive. They think I mean, you can go and look at reviews of both books, and you'll see that they really like how I portray it. And I have a fictional town, but it's surrounded by the real towns of northern Michigan: Traverse, Petoskey, Kalkaska, Bel Air, Mackinac City. They're all mentioned, and there's other little things and businesses that are mentioned in these books. And as well, in River Deep, there are some scenes in Melvindale, downriver, and in downtown Detroit. And I try to make them as realistic as I can. But again, I'm writing fiction, so I don't have to be perfect.
And you mentioned Hamtramck.
Yeah, there's quite a Hamtramck section in Bitterfrost.
There's
a mention of it at the beginning of River Deep, because the main character, Devin Payne, has just returned to Bitterfrost from a year in Hamtramck, where she just couldn't make a living.
And so you have 7 novels. Has anyone ever talked about turning them into a movie?
My second novel, The Hanging Tree, was optioned twice by a director and screenwriter, but it never went anywhere.
And what does that mean when it was optioned twice?
Well, so John Gray is his name, great guy. So he took out an option, means he has exclusive rights to this book for, I think it was a year and a half, and you get a check. It's found money. It's nice. You don't have to do anything. And then he renewed it. So that was 2 options. And then it never gained any traction with Hollywood. And this was in like 2010, 11. And it was before streaming. An episodic series became really popular. And I want to think that if Starvation and its 2 sequels had come out a little bit later, I might have had better luck, but I didn't. There are a lot of people who looked at Bitter Frost, but in the end, none of them bit. Now that doesn't mean they won't, but even books that get optioned by big hitters, almost none of them ever get made. So I'll give you an example. Lee Child, who's got like 25 million readers, right? Took him 10 years to get his first Jack Reacher novel into a movie. And then Tom Cruise plays a 6'6" guy. Cruise is about, I don't know, 5'2", I don't know. That's the movie business. And if it happens, great. It's cool. If it doesn't, then, probably not.
So how, just to dig a little deeper on that, this guy buys an option. He pays you to have the option of turning it into a movie.
Right.
Does he do like a treatment, like a 1 page or 10
John wrote a screenplay.
He wrote a screenplay, and basically he wrote a whole screenplay, or just
a whole screenplay. Yeah, it was great.
And then he shops it around, and he gives it to different people, and Hollywood says yay or nay.
And if they say yay, you make a little bit more money if they say we're going to put it into production, and then a little more money if it actually gets into production, more money if it actually goes to into theaters, etc. And of course, if it does well, then it's going to help your book sales. People are going to go buy the book.
Did you get excited when that first happened?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But buy your Hollywood suit, silk shirt or something, and or just or a tux for the red carpet.
Well, I never called you up there. I would have asked you for the sartorial advice.
Still plenty of Tiger tickets. So let's. You want to read a little bit of?
I'll just read the opening, and it'll give you an idea what it's about. This is chapter 1, and this is what it says. Dark river water sluices off the SUV as a crane lifts it to the surface, steel and cable groaning in the dawn. The dead, 2 infant boys, have already been removed. So right away, you're not going to read a comedy. 2 infant boys are dead.
Right.
And, they drowned in this river. And so the story, let's go back into the real world, was inspired, if that's the right word, by the 1989 case of Larry Delisle. What happened in Detroit. He drove his wife and their 4 young children into the Detroit River near Wyandotte, and the kids all drowned. And Delisle went through an exhausting, like 8.5 hour interrogation. Cops and a psychologist from the state cops in Lansing. And he allegedly confessed. The confession was leaked to the media, the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press. There was quite a hullabaloo over this, and it complicated the legal proceedings, because how do you impanel a fair and impartial jury? Everybody knows the guy's admitted guilt, or allegedly admitted guilt. Anyway, a year later, he got convicted and was sentenced to life in prison. He's still in prison. But even as recently as, I think, 2020, he has filed appeals, trying to get that conviction overturned without success thus far.
Yeah.
And I read about it when I was in Washington for the news, and our dear late pal Jim Mitzelfeld covered it for the news.
Right.
And then I forgot about it, but then later I ran across it in this little anthology of Michigan murders, and I tucked it away in a file I keep. Just maybe it'll be a story. And so I came across it when I was, casting about for an idea for a sequel to Bitterfrost, and decided, okay, I'm going to try this. And then I read a bunch of the appellate briefs, and I don't have, it's tough to have a lot of sympathy for a guy who drives his kids into a river. Whether he did it intentionally or not, the jury ruled he did. But okay. The thing is, though, when I was reading, especially the stuff about the interrogation itself, and I actually watched some of it. There was a Dateline special about it, and I read some of it, and I started to think, well, maybe Delisle isn't the only bad guy in this story. Mm-hmm. And so I took a female character who barely appears in Bitterfrost, but she's a member of the Delaney family. And the Delaneys and the Paynes are the two prominent families of Bitterfrost. And Devin Payne, the main character in both books, is a lawyer. And so Catriona Delaney, who's accused of the murder, and Devin Payne cross paths. It's a fraught relationship. And that's really, their relationship is at the heart of this story. And making Catriona palatable, a mother who may have killed her children.
You said you read some different briefs and stuff?
Yeah, I read a whole bunch of appellate stuff.
Did you read also transcripts of testimony? Or?
I couldn't get, it would have cost me a lot of money to get transcripts. Okay. And I think I even asked you about this. I couldn't get a clip that I could read. Mm-hmm. I couldn't blow it up and see it. So I worked with what I could get, and it was fine. And then I can make up my own stuff too. And so there's that main story, but then there's this sort of mysterious character who shows up. His name is Hooper. He originally appeared in Starvation Lake, my first book. He's a young hockey player with one eye. And Hooper is the one who takes us to downriver Detroit. And there's something going on there that has to do with what happens in Bitterfrost at River Deep. And so we're off. And then I don't plot or anything. I just start writing, and I don't know what the hell's going to happen.
How long did this take you to write this particular book?
About 9 months.
9 months. That's pretty good.
If you count the edit, there's probably a couple more. When I turned it in to my then editor, Lori Johnson, I learned only then that Lori is the mother of twins, like the mother in the book.
Wow.
So she was highly sensitive to the portrayal of this mom, but it was a great advantage for me to have her say, you need to do this, less of that, more of that. And I did a pretty extensive rewrite of the book, and the whole ending is different.
Is it when you hand in a transcript, it comes back, I assume, marked up or
and then there's some markup, but mainly it's a long letter saying, get rid of this character. That was one of the things she said. You have this character, she's a fun character, but she doesn't do anything. Get her out of there. Just extricate her from the book. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Is there a tug and pull there, or do you sort of defer?
Well, I thought it was a reasonable request, so I tried to do it. And when I did it, I thought, okay, this is the right thing to do. Right. In Bitterfrost, the earlier book, my editor, Vic Britton, loved the book, but she said, chapter 6 should really be chapter 1. And, you get your back up a little. You're like, hey, that's my baby. What do you mean? It's going to take a lot of work. And then in about 10 minutes, I came around. She was right. It really should have been chapter 1. And so I did it, and it wasn't that hard, really. And
it seems harder, but once you do it, it's like an editor, and I haven't written a book, but, whatever.
It's still same thing.
long form, and they say, well, you need to do this and that, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck.
Yeah.
It'll take forever. And I'm in
But then in the end, unless the editor's a dunce, and I only crossed a couple of those in my career. Mostly smart people, and they're right, and they're not trying to. It's not a power trip for most of them. They're just trying to get the best story in the paper or in the magazine or whatever it is. So.
And so most publishers these days, unless you're really a big name author, they don't put a lot of money into promoting the book. They sort of leave it up to you to set up dates and stuff, or is it not? Did
well,
they help?
It depends on the publisher. If you're with one of the big five, I'm not. I'm with a very good traditional publisher, but it's not one of the big ones. And they'll give you some help with setting up events, and they'll do some social marketing. But even those authors, unless they're big sellers, they have to work at it. And so I've had to work at it.
Like
drives
the
me a
books,
little crazy.
you have a whole long list of bookstores here, and I'll read. You have Tuesday, July 7th, Horizon Books in Traverse City. Wednesday, July 8th, Bel Air Public Library in Bel Air, Michigan. Thursday, July 9th, McLean and Eakin Bookstore in Petoskey. Then you're in Charlevoix, then you're in Chicago, and these are all different bookstores. And then you're in Brighton and Orchard Lake on Thursday, July 16th, which I will be out of town in D.C. at the time.
How convenient.
Yes, but did you?
You could come to Brighton.
Yeah. Well, I'm leaving. I'm going to be gone from July 10th to right.
Okay. You shifted that date a little bit on there.
Yeah. And so, did you have to set those all up, or did somebody help you, or how do you
I hire a publicist that I pay. Her
You
name's
do?
Julia
Okay.
Borchers. She's terrific.
Okay.
And I actually help with it, but she did a lot of that work and get in contact with them and make sure that they get books. So
Is that expensive to hire? Is that expensive to hire?
And it's I didn't have to hire them before. Now I do. So
Yeah. And this this gig you got just I reached out to you, I think, and said,
Yeah, I think Julia may have reached out to you, but maybe
she did. I just saw something.
Okay.
I saw something maybe the other day, but
anyways,
yeah,
that helps.
But yeah, so it's great. I mean, like I say, people can get your book, and I assume. I mean, I put a link to Amazon Books, which is probably that the biggest.
Well, Amazon is the biggest seller of books in the world, but there's for people who like indie stores, there's bookshop.org. It's a great site. And Barnes & Noble has it, Target has it. And if you have an indie store near you, Next Chapter in Detroit, Schuler in West Bloomfield, they'll have the book.
Book Beat in Oak Park.
I don't know. I've never been there.
It's a very hip, very cool bookstore. You could probably get a reading there. I think Susan Whitehall had a reading there, her and Patty Montgomery. So
really, wow.
Yeah. It's a cool little bookstore there. So, but so people can go to indie bookstores. They can go online.
Right.
I think Borders still has online.
I don't think Borders exists, does it?
Not Borders. I'm sorry.
Barnes & Noble does.
Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, Barnes & Noble's doing pretty well.
Yeah, and so I recommend getting the book. I will get it.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you so much. Are you following the Tigers, by the way?
I don't really follow baseball until the end, later in the summer.
Till later, okay.
Because it's kind of a boring game, and there's just. But I heard they swept the Yankees.
You're still a Notre Dame football fan.
Notre Dame Notre Dame and the Red Wings are my favorite.
That's where it's at. And are you enjoying living up north? You were all around. You lived in D.C., then you lived in Chicago,
right?
Then you lived in St. Pete, and I grew up in Traverse. How are the winters, and how have you enjoyed being
the two winters? We came here and people are like, "Well, the winters up here are mild now." Well, not these two. We've been here 2 winters. They were both nasty.
Right. They were brutal down in Detroit, really.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. So yeah, but it's a beautiful area,
Yeah,
Be a little crazy the next week or two because the cherry festival's coming on. People will be flooding in from elsewhere in the state, but yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out. And again, you want to hold up your book. It's called River Deep. It's the 7th novel, which is really amazing that you've written so many. It's quite a prolific writer there, and you've written one nonfiction. So anyways, thanks so much, Bryan. And
thanks, Al.
You want to do your Ernie Harwell before we leave?
Hello, everybody. Come and buy my book.
All right. Thanks.